Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli waj'alni waziran min ahli Haruna akhi ushdud bihi azri wa ashriku fi amri kay nusabbihaka kaseera wa nazkuraka kaseera innaka kunta bina basira ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين. Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah, we're going to continue with the Raise the Supreme Sign, the first chapter, which is on page 135 in the book for most people, inshallah. So the recap, basically, it was started beautifully. We were kind of reading about the journey of a reflective human being or a traveler, just like everybody can see, because this is the race. So we'd know that what a traveler is like. We are the travelers in this world. We are not, this is not our permanent residence. So, but the part that this author is emphasizing in the Supreme Sign from right now is just basic journey. And it's a very reflective journey. And I think everybody can benefit from that reflective journey utilizing your human qualities, which is like the consciousness that is given to us, the intellect that is given to us, the feelings that are given to us. So it's amazing how much we can learn from the universe from this journey. And what we stopped at last time was the analogy that was made about the Supreme Gathering, about how the author was reflecting on the motion of the earth around the sun and a field that is there. And he likened it to as an analogy to a Supreme Gathering. So the one who is organizing all this should have no problem at all. Basically, who can deny that a Supreme Gathering can happen based on how the manifestation of the power and will and qualities that are being displayed and manifested in front of our eyes, our ears, our heart, our experiences, our feelings, everything is showing the signs of the mightiness of the one who owns this universe. So we will continue on the journey, inshallah. And of course, I think this initial stage of the Supreme Sign is mostly the reflective thoughts and journeys. So please feel free to stop me at any point by raising your hand or putting something in the chat as we go along this journey. So I will start reading from the middle of the page, which is highlighted. Bismillah. So Bismillah. He then, referring to the us or the traveler, he then looks at the pages of the earth and sees that each page of each of its chapters proclaims the sustainer of the earth in thousands of verses. So now the author has been, whoever this traveler, the author is sharing about, that is us also. We're going through the universe, which is like a book, and each stage, each journey, each moment can be seen as a page of the book. And then within those minute details, it could be chapters and verses. So he looks at the pages of the earth and sees that each page of each of his chapters proclaims the sustainer of the earth in thousands of verses. Being unable to read the whole of it, he looks at the page dealing with the creation and deployment of animate beings in the spring and observes the following. So dealing with the creation and deployment of animate beings in the spring, and observes the following. The forms of the countless members of hundreds of thousands of species emerge in the utmost precision from a simple material, and are then nurtured in most merciful fashion Then, in a miraculous manner, wings are given to some of the seeds. Wings are given to some of the seeds. They take to flight and are thus dispersed. They are most effectively distributed. So there's a distribution that is happening, deployment. Most carefully fed and nurtured. So those seeds, they are deployed all over the place as if they have tiny wings that takes them from one place to the other. And they are distributed and most carefully fed and nurtured. Countless tasty and delicious forms of food, in the most merciful and tender fashion, are brought forth from dry clay and from roots, seeds, and drops of liquid that differ little among each other. Every spring, 100,000 kinds of food and equipment are loaded on it from an unseen treasury. So on the page of the earth, every spring, 100,000 kinds of food and equipment are loaded from an unseen treasury, as if onto a railway wagon, and are dispatched in utmost orderliness to animate beings. The sending to infants of canned milk in those food packages, and pumps of sugared milk in the form of their mothers' affectionate breasts, is in particular such an instance of solicitousness, mercy, and wisdom that it immediately establishes itself as a most tender manifestation of the mercy and generosity of the merciful and compassionate one. Manifestation of the mercy and generosity of the merciful and compassionate one. In short, this living page of spring displays 100,000 examples and samples of the supreme gathering, and is a tangible demonstration of this verse. All right, so I'm going to go to the next page. So look to the signs of God's mercy, how he gives life to the earth after its death. For verily, he is who gives life to the dead, and he has power over all things. This is Quran chapter 30, verse 50. So look to the signs of God's mercy. So everything in creation is actually a sign of mercy. How he gives life to the earth after its death. For verily he it is who gives life to the dead, and he has power over all things. Moreover, this verse may be said to express in a miraculous fashion the meanings of the page that is spring. The traveler thus understood that the earth proclaims through all its pages, in fashion proportionate to their size, there is no God but He. The earth proclaims through all its pages, in fashion proportionate to their size, there is no God but He. In expression of the meaning beheld by the traveler through the brief testimony of one of the 20 aspects of a single page out of the more than 20 pages of the globe, it was said in the third degree of the first station, there is no God but God, the necessary being, to whose necessary existence in unity the earth with all that is in it and upon it testifies. Through the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of subjugation, through the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of subjugation, disposition, nurturing, opening, distribution of seeds, protection, administration, the giving of life to all animate beings, compassion and mercy, universal and general, a truth vast and perfect, and to be observed. Then that reflective traveler read each page of the cosmos, and as he did so his faith, that key to felicity, and as he did so his faith, that key to felicity, strengthened, his gnosis, that key to spiritual progress, increased. His belief in God, the source and foundation of all perfection, developed 1 degree more. His joy and pleasure augmented and aroused his eagerness. His joy and pleasure augmented and aroused his eagerness. And while listening to the perfect and convincing lessons given by the sky, by space, and the earth, he cried out for more. So he's asking for more. He cried out for more. Then he heard the rapturous invocation of God made by the tumult of the seas and the great rivers. Then he heard the rapturous invocation of God made by the tumult of the seas and the great rivers, and listened to their sad yet pleasant sounds. In numerous ways they were saying to him, "Look at us, read also our signs." Looking, our traveler saw the following. The seas, constantly and vitally surging, merging, and pouring forth with an inclination to conquest inherent in their very nature. The seas constantly and vitally surging, merging, and pouring forth with an inclination to conquest inherent in their very nature, surrounded the earth and together with the earth revolved extremely swiftly in a circle of 25,000 years in a single year. Yet the seas did not disperse. Yet the seas did not disperse, did not overflow or encroach on the land contiguous to them. They moved and stood still, and were protected by the command and power of a most powerful and magnificent being. Then, looking to the depths of the sea, the traveler saw that apart from the most beautiful, well adorned, and symmetrical jewels, there were thousands of different kinds of animals. There were thousands of different kinds of animals, sustained and ordered, brought to life, and caused to die. in so disciplined a fashion, their provision coming from mere sand and salt water, that it established irresistibly the existence of a powerful and glorious, a merciful and beauteous being, administering and giving life to them. The traveler then looks at the rivers and sees that the benefits inherent in them, the functions they perform, and their continual replenishment are inspired by such wisdom and mercy as indisputably to prove that all rivers, springs, streams, and great waterways flow forth from the treasury of mercy of the compassionate one, the Lord of glory and generosity. Once again, the traveler then looks at the rivers and sees that the benefits inherent in them, the functions that the rivers perform, and their continual replenishment are inspired by such wisdom and mercy as indisputably to prove that all rivers, springs, streams, and great waterways flow forth from the treasury of mercy of the compassionate one, the Lord of glory and generosity. They are preserved and dispensed indeed in so extraordinary a fashion that it is said, 4 rivers flow forth from paradise. I guess this is a hadith referring to the rivers Euphrates, Nile, Sehan, and Jehan. So, but in general, every river, every stream, every spring, pond, whatever is there, sea, ocean, the Lord of glory in general, they are preserved and dispensed indeed in so extraordinary a fashion that it is said 4 rivers flow forth from paradise. That is, they transcend by far apparent causes. They transcend by far apparent causes and flow forth instead from the treasury of a non-material paradise, from the superabundance of an unseen and inexhaustible source. For example, the blessed Nile that turns the sandy land of Egypt into a paradise flows from the mountains of the moon in the south without ever being exhausted, as if it were a small sea. If the water that flowed down the river in 6 months were gathered together in the form of a mountain and then frozen, it would be larger than those mountains. But the place in the mountains where the water is lodged and stored is less than a sixth of their mass. That's very interesting. But the place in the mountains where the water is lodged and stored is less than a sixth of their mass. As for the water that replenishes the river, the rain that enters the reservoir of the river is very sparse in that torrid region and is quickly swallowed up by the thirsty soil. Hence, it is incapable of maintaining the equilibrium of the river. So the rain is incapable of maintaining the equilibrium of the river. Water that replenishes the river, the rain that enters the reservoir of the river is very sparse in that torrid region and is quickly swallowed up by the thirsty soil. Hence, it is incapable of maintaining the equilibrium of the river. A tradition has thus grown up that the blessed Nile springs in miraculous fashion from an unseen paradise. This tradition has profound meaning and expresses a beautiful truth. The traveler saw then a thousandth part of the truths and affirmations contained in the oceans and rivers. The seas proclaim unanimously, with a power proportionate to their extent, there is no God but He. There is no God but He, and produce as witnesses to their testimony all the creatures that inhabit them. This our traveler perceived, expressing and conveying the testimony of the seas and the rivers. We said in the fourth degree of the first station, there is no God but God, the necessary existent, to the necessity of whose existence in unity point all the seas and the rivers, together with all that they contain, by the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of subjugation, preservation, storing up, and administration, vast and well ordered, and to be observed. By the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of subjugation, preservation, storing up, and administration, vast and well ordered, and to be observed. Brother Ali, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I think the text so far is clear, and I mean there is nothing to talk about. But I wanted to just share something attracted my attention with you. That is, now we are used to usually make the argument basing on, look, the causes cannot do it, they are not able to do it, to realize what we see in creation and their qualities. For example, water, as we read lately, in the sea, in rain. But the text doesn't argue in this way. There are other texts arguing in this way, especially the 23rd flash. Others as well. There are others as well. But this text doesn't argue in this way. This text says, look at the mercy, compassion, providing the provisions for needy people, and orderliness, coordination, purposeful creation, all these kind of sensual qualities manifested in the things, in the parts of the creation that the author deals one by one. That attracted my attention. It is so uh, important for me to pay attention that yes, the causes cannot make water. Causes are not able to arrange the atmosphere and everything related to it, gravity, pressure, and also the atmosphere is getting, as you go up and up, it gets, the pressure gets low and low, so that the gathering of the clouds, it cannot be really accidentally happened in this way. It is obvious that perfectly arranged, but we don't really pay attention to the result of the action as something to do with humans, addressing the human feelings. I said, that is interesting. I have been following your reading. I just pay attention to At the end of every, it says this degree of the stations, such station, etc. For example, I'm going through the last one, the truths of subjugation, preservation, storing up, administration, and also the other one, comprehensive of the truth of subjugation, disposition, nurturing, opening, distribution of seeds, protection, administration, the giving of life to all animate beings, compassionate and mercy, universal and general, a truth was vast and perfect and to be observed. So again, one more? No. We read today two. Previous ones also says um, sublimit of the comprehensiveness of the truth of subjugation. Again, subjugation keeps repeating. The disposal causing to descent and regulation, a vast truth, etc. Now, that was the point I wanted to just break the monotonous reading, but at the same time share this something important. Uh, when we study the creation, we have to associate them at the same time our way of reasoning, how to explain the existence, the act of creation is taking place, that is correct, that doesn't diminish the value of explaining it rationally, but at the same time, human beings see the sensual side of it, addressing to human senses, and looking at the creation from my, for example, uh, expectations, feelings, enjoyment, fear, etc. That was interesting. I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. I appreciated your comment to explain about if you ask an environmentalist how he would explain all these things that this author, this traveler is describing and coming to conclusions using all the qualities that he is feeling within himself. And the environmentalist will just say, hey, this is how much rain was this year, and this is the ice melted here, and this is how the river, this much is the water that is going to be coming. But it's interesting how the missing aspect is but the existence of the water and how this administration, who is organizing even the rain and the snow melting, even the process of melting, what is going on. And this is the part where I don't know if human beings have become insensitive to their feelings, where we only go with the data-oriented approach to analyzing anything we study in the universe. But this is a common trend right now. Everything is data-driven in this world, but it should be quality, like the manifested driven. That's how I think the world needs to become. Thank you for that. Would anybody want to add anything? Yeah, Brother Adam, go ahead, please.
I was just listening to Brother Ali's point, and I wanted to understand more about what he's saying. This sense-based side is it relating to any particular section of the text, or yeah? I mean, I'm just trying to make sure I understand what he says. Maybe he can elaborate.
Brother Ali, I think, can you take it? Brother Adam wants you to elaborate a little bit on the sensual side of things, or?
Yes, but that is what we find in the text, and I said that is important to bring this perspective to our attention. If there is any question, I didn't get the question, or I don't know, I accept Brother Adam said, this is the sensual side. Everywhere we have to combine them together with our rationality, even rationally explaining the existence within the context of cause and effect. Yeah, causes, or this apparent causes, don't have enough quality to own the effects. So, especially effects usually have a better and higher quality than the causes which doesn't have any quality within from itself. But even the quality that it is created with, like human beings, for example, I'm created with the quality of speech and hearing, feeling, reasoning, etc. But even I say these qualities belong to me, I cannot create thought. I cannot create meaning. I cannot create with these qualities senses, any of the senses. That makes sense, that is correct, but everywhere we have to add in every observation or anything attracts my attention in the universe. Everything attracts my attention in the universe, bad or good according to my appetite. So I may not like something, but it still attracts my attention. I have to look at it from sensual side as well. I see something ugly out there, and I have the sense of disliking ugly. So I communicate with it. When somebody is speaking to me and addressing to my sense of disliking ugly and saying, look, this is ugly, yeah? So look for the beautiful one, good looking one. Well, directs me. It's communicating with me through my senses. That's what I wanted to discuss, and we can use it everywhere.
You got muted, Brother Lee. We can use it everywhere, our senses.
That's it. We can use it in every aspect of the creation. Not only looking at my baby and saying, look, she's out of a drop of, not drop, a cell, man, it is impossible. Yeah, correct. How about the sweet feeling that you love to hold the baby, play with it, joke with it, listen to it and speaking most of the time nonsense, but repeating the same thing. You like it. Why do you like it? It is created in a loving way. And then there is no way to explain the quality of the creation being loving or lovely, or the sweet relationship with the people around us, with the creation around us. So it is somebody is really mercifully, compassionately treating me in this world through the creation I have. For example, the things are beautiful, smells nice, and keeps us happy. All of them. Now, for example, if you have a cat in your house, I don't know whether you like it or not, but it's an example. The movement of the cat, the way it behaves, usually they come and sleep with you in the bed. So then you like it. This liking side is interesting to me as well. So we have to look at the creation from many different aspects which address to human feelings and human qualities altogether. Thank you.
Thank you. Verily. Anybody else would like to say anything? Adam, do you want to ask anything more or any comment from your side?
No, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I was thinking also, when the author kind of shows that he says that everything coming forth from the treasury of mercy of the compassionate one, that's one way of how the traveler is kind of going through. But this is something I think everybody needs to work on. We don't really see it coming directly, or we are not able to, like, most of the time. I mean, it's possible, I know that we can do it, but I think this is the part, I think that the essential part that I think everybody needs to pay attention to more. At least I'm talking for myself also here. So, I mean, how wonderful that is to see that, directly you're being taken care of from the treasury of mercy, or that your Lord is taking care of you in this world. I mean, to live that way is just a beautiful, wonderful way of living. So just some thoughts. Inshallah, let's continue reading. I mean, I think this is a pretty straightforward kind of reading, because this is a reflective journey. I think we can all partake in that and follow it. But if you guys have any comments or anything, please feel free to raise your hands. Okay, let's continue. Then the traveler is summoned on his meditative journey by the mountains and the plains. Read 2 our pages, they say. Looking, he sees that the universal function and duty of mountains is of such grandeur and wisdom as to stupefy the intelligence. Looking, he sees that the universal function and duty of mountains is of such grandeur and wisdom as to stupefy the intelligence. The mountains emerge from the earth by the command of their sustainer. See, this is the way to read the universe, that you see the command of the sustainer of the universe. Like everything that is happening is behaving. I see the skies, the clouds, the birds. Food is coming through a command of the sustainer, thereby palliating the turmoil, anger, and rancor that arise from disturbances within the earth. As the mountains surge upward, the earth begins to breathe. It is delivered from harmful tremors and upheavals, and its tranquility, as it pursues its duty of rotation, is no longer disturbed. You want to say something, Farid?
Well, I mean, it just makes you wanna, I don't know, personally, I just want to retire right now in a small village by the mountains. You wanted me to speak, so this is what's going on in my reflective journey. So I just say now. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I mean, just the way the author is presenting the case. Like, here I am surrounded by big buildings, sirens from like ambulance.
The buildings emerge too. They're just not there.
Yeah, right.
They're like the mountains, you would say.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, though.
Ready to retire.
Okay. So the mountains emerge from the earth by the command of their sustainer, thereby palliating the turmoil, anger, and rancor that arise from disturbances within the earth. As the mountains surge upward, the earth begins to breathe. It is delivered. The earth is delivered from harmful tremors and upheavals, and the Earth's tranquility as it pursues its duty of rotation is no longer disturbed. In the same way that masts are planted in ships, to protect them from turbulence and preserve their balance, so too mountains are set up on the deck of the ship that is the Earth, as masts and stores, as is indicated by verses of the Quran of miraculous exposition such as these, and the mountains as pegs, Quran chapter 78 verse 7, the mountains as pegs, and we have cast down anchors, Quran chapter 50 verse 7, and we have cast down anchors, and the mountains he anchored them, Quran chapter 79 verse 32, and the mountains he anchored them. Then too they are stored up and preserved in the mountains all kinds of springs, waters, minerals, and other materials needed by animate beings. They are stored up and preserved in the mountains all kinds of springs, waters, minerals, and other materials needed by animate beings in so wise, skillful, generous, and foreseeing a fashion that they prove that they are the storehouses and warehouses and servants of one possessing infinite power, one possessing infinite wisdom. Servants of one possessing infinite power, one possessing infinite wisdom. As great as mountains, of the mountains and plains, the traveler sees through the general instances of wisdom in them, and particularly in regard to the fashion in which all manner of things are stored up in them providentially. The testimony they give and the divine unity they proclaim, declaring, "There is no God but He." A declaration as powerful and firm as the mountains and vast and expansive as the plains. And he too says, "I believe in God." Just like the mountains and the plains are declaring, "There is no God but He," I should say, "I believe in God," by my observation and my sensual involvement in that. In expression of this meaning, it was said in the fifth degree of the first station, "There is no God but God, to the necessity of whose existence." The necessity of whose existence. Point all the mountains and plains together, all the mountains and plains together with what is in them and upon them. By the testimony, so they testify, they give testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth, of the storing up, administration, dissemination of seeds, preservation and regulation, a truth providential, dominical, vast, general, well ordered, and perfect, and to be observed. So we are all on a ship, like the Earth is sailing. You can imagine that in the universe with the mountains. And who is organizing that? Who is administering that? What should our feelings feel with all that is happening? And I see Farah's hand up. Farah, please go ahead. We don't hear you, Farah, if you're talking. . Still don't hear you, although your mic is on.
You can type in your query or log out and sign in again, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps you can sign out and log in again, and if you're not, you can. Yeah. Okay. So anybody else who would like to share anything while we wait for her?
It's interesting how everything is a witness to divine unity in terms of connecting this back also to how, we should be reading creation in general, where nothing is acting on its own. It's so all linked, intertwined. Just how the author is presenting that case also, just like mountains, but there's so much involved within that as well, like how water is soaked up, has minerals, so many tiny creatures that live in there as well. And if we really ponder over it, then one can inevitably conclude there's no God but God. Like there must be an absolute source of existence bringing all of this into existence.
Yeah, and with that divine unity, you can tie in all the qualities as the author is sharing. So all those qualities.
The qualities.
Okay, so let's see what Farah has to say. Farah, go ahead, please. Thank you, Farah.
Assalamu alaikum. Is this better?
Yep, we hear you now.
We hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the discussion so far. I'm going to sort of take a direction from Dr. Ali's comment about this piece highlighting and reminding and turning our direction to sort of the sensory experience of our being. I gather that from sort of the way that we've read and sort of a piece of the method is that this definitely did proceed from an intellectual foundation about, cause of existence. And it was on this foundation that we are able to direct or make sense or make meaning or define our feelings in a way that is consistent with our intellectual conclusion. And this harmony, I guess, is what is a source of peace and security in a human being, that what they understand intellectually conforms or is consistent with what they are observing and feeling. One thing though, I'm wondering, and I'm thinking out loud, and and would love to see if other people want to help in this, is for example, like, you have an intellectual conclusion that, a certain cake or fruit is supposed to be delicious or sweet. And you've had it before maybe, and you remember it being that way. But let's say you have, you eat it on a particular day and you don't find it as, amazing or as memorable as the day before. And there are times where I guess the same experience, so to say, provokes or inculcates a deeper sense of meaning as opposed to other times. And it can be periods or, in which someone can sort of feel a deep connection with, their intellectual conclusion and their experience. And there are other times when, I guess, to say a word like, you're a little bit numb to it, or it doesn't really hit you that in similar ways. And I wonder, like, one, I can see this becoming part of a training in which one is constantly in the effort of being aware, being observant and aware, as the story of this traveler seems to highlight with all the details that are present, that there is a certain depth and sense of awareness that is, perhaps that the author I seem to take that is highlighting that it's a deeper sense of awareness than what you would normally sort of maybe experience. So there's that. Perhaps there is a constant training or practice or exercise of inculcating a deeper sense of awareness. But another thing that I wonder is like, does this culminate into, let's say you look at a tree and, you're looking is an immediate or instantaneous confirmation of, your intellectual conclusion and your experience. So you look at a tree and you are instantaneously, you're communicating with the source of that tree. It seems like a little ideal, but also seems to be the ultimate aim, that your experience in its, in its very moment, or in its, immediately, instantaneously connects you with the source. But perhaps, so to say that, I think, is the experience of this being disjointed, that you are actively connecting your sensory experience to your intellectual conclusion, a matter of sort of, practice and exercise, or is there some methodological sort of error, I would say, in having this bifurcation of an experience? I hope I'm able to express something, but I am also trying to think out loud during this.
Yeah, thank you for your sharing your thoughts, Brother Ali. Please go ahead.
Yeah, that's an important point. We have to see the correlation between human beings, materially bodily it means, and also sensually feelings. The universe also has the qualities, materially the same fruit. Some of them are sour, some of them are sweet, some of them are less sweet, some of them smell really nice, some of them not, etc., or whatever. So some of them are really bitter. So you when you take it, it tastes, I don't want it. So it means that the universe and the qualities manifested in the universe, the qualities, I don't mean only physical qualities, like human bodies, physical qualities are wonderful, but at the same time, compared to human science, it is really not that significant. Human feelings, the qualities of the human feelings are impossible to measure. For example, consciousness, conscience, reasoning, and loving, disliking, fear, hope. These are all really corresponding with the qualities of the universe. So we are having in this way the opportunity to exercise our all degrees of feelings, from the very extreme of excitement, the pleasure, to the very extreme of fear, pain. In between, human feelings oscillate, fluctuate between these two very extremes. Universe's qualities also have these qualities. Sorry, universes also have these aspects, which also starts from very sweet to the poisonous things in the universe, and also in the description of the scriptures in general. Hell, extreme point of happiness. Again, pain. Paradise, extreme uh, representation of happiness, pleasure. Human beings in between, just fluctuates here and there, oscillates continuously. And we have to experience all of them in this world so that we will make sure which direction we are going to take. The direction, for example, what am I going to do? Am I going to look for the always sweet things? No, sometimes sour, sometimes really hot things as well. Through all these experiences, we will understand that the universe is prepared for human beings in order to have them the opportunity to practice it, to practice his feelings and make the decision, especially this, if you like, rational decision. Uh, the conclusions about the meaning of the universe, saying that this is completely absurd, or this universe makes completely perfect sense. Which one? You have to go and try to come to a conclusion. Thank you.
Okay, so Brother Ali, when you're saying oscillating or whatever between sweet and bitter, the universe was always showing the constant qualities, I would say, right? You mean from our perspective, we may not see, we oscillate between, one degree to another degree, between the sweetest to the bitterest. It's our side, the human side. So I didn't really understand how you were taking that example of the sweet and bitter fruit.
And
that is human beings as well. We have our constant qualities, but I'm talking about the experiencing, having the opportunity to experience our feelings, see it. For example, let's say if there was no ugliness at all, if there was no beauty at all, our sense wouldn't really realize the existence of beauty, existence of ugliness at all. In between, we have to choose towards the beauty. We have to choose to abstain, to keep away from the ugliness. That's why the human reasoning also, we have to keep ourselves developing, improving ourselves towards to find the most consistent truth and try to avoid the most inconsistent false. So we have to experience it. It is, the universe is not black and white as far as the what's that? Differences, not the big differences. Of course, the order is constant, but what is created within the order is continuously changing, and innumerable multitudes of different manifestations of the qualities are taking place. That's what I meant. Different qualities addressing the different qualities of human beings as well, so that we will experience them, we will realize the existence of different things in the world, so that we will understand that the Creator is not only creating certain things and repeating the same thing. No, again, endless different manifestations of his qualities are taking place in the universe. We have to experience all this as well. From this endless manifestation, we understand that the Creator's qualities are also endless. He has absolutely endless ways of choosing the things and absolutely endless ways of manifesting his power, his knowledge, his wisdom, etc.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Brother Ali. Or you have a question or comment? Okay, so Farah, do you want to continue? You have your hand is still up, or that was from before. Okay. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything? If not, we can continue reading.
She has her hand up.
Okay, Farah, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I think I'll just express what I understood from Dr. Ali's message and your question also is perhaps that even when someone thinks that they're not feeling anything, they are actually feeling something. And it is, as I think I understood, is, it may not be what you were expecting or your assumption was, but it's something else on this wide spectrum between, the sweet and the bitter and the happiness and fear. But it's somewhere there, and obviously it's it's a spectrum, so it's not something specific, but maybe something that hasn't been named yet or not, but it is something. And it is this experience of, along this very wide variety, I guess, like a very abstract variety of feelings, that we get to know the source, who is, the owner of these endless or infinite qualities. So I think what I understood was, like, even when someone thinks they're not feeling anything, they actually are feeling something, but, don't know what it actually, there might not be a name for it. That's all.
As a joke, can I say they are feeling that they don't feel anything?
Right. It's like saying there is no truth is also saying that there is some truth, but
At least the concept of truth exists.
right.
And we
Thank
have
you.
to seek the concept of truth. Even we deny that there is no truth. There is no absolute truth in the creation. That is a contradiction, because the concept exists in the mind. For example, they may say that they do, which they do. They say the concept of denying the creator is also exists, correct? But you can deny only what is out there. Do you see what I mean? For example, you can say 2 plus 2 makes 3 is wrong. It's wrong. So you can deny that 2 plus 2 makes 3 is wrong, and you deny the truthfulness of it. It also infers that there must be a correct answer, right answer for 2 plus 2 equals something else. That's why you are saying this is wrong. There must be. So when somebody denies God, there must be a way of finding out a God somewhere. So that's why they are looking for the God particle.
Brother Ali, you muted yourself? Oh,
Deliberately.
you're talking about deliberately denying or looking for the God particle, you said?
Yeah, because they are looking for things, because they say there is no creator God. It means that they can deny human beings go everywhere in the spectrum from 0 to 1 spectrum. So it's possible they can deny it, but this denial infers that this concept of God, creator, exists, and they have to show it. For example, again, I will repeat, 2 plus 2 makes 3. If I say it is wrong, denial of this equation as the true accusation infers that there must be a right answer to 2 plus 2 makes something. So we have to look for it. It doesn't mean necessarily that they will come up with the right answer for God. Even they say, for example, that the nature is the creator. Okay, that's a claim. You can argue. You can argue. But this claim also infers that nature is the creator. It means human mind looks for, seeks the creator. That's the sign. I mean, how good it is, but that's what I wanted to discuss. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Brother Ali. Okay, if anybody else would like to share in anything. Okay. So let's continue. Yay.
Does HBISA have a comment or a question?
Okay, let me check. H. Beza, do you have any question?
No, I was just reiterating what Brother Ali was saying. That's all.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so let's continue. Where are we now?
Page 139. No, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Then, while that traveler was traveling in his mind,
Mhm.
so it was reflective, meditative, now traveling, imagining in his mind, wandering through the mountains and plains. So you don't have to go there for you. Next to the mountains.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
okay.
While the traveler was traveling in his mind through the mountains and plains, the gate to the arboreal and vegetable realm was opened before him.
Oh.
Arboreal, like the trees, and the vegetable realm was opened before him. He was summoned inside. Come, they said. Inspect our realm and read our inscriptions. Entering, the traveler saw that a splendid and well-adorned assembly for the proclamation of God's unity. For the proclamation of God's unity, and a circle for the mentioning of his names and the offering of thanks to him had been drawn up. He understood for the very appearance of all trees and plants that their different species were proclaiming unanimously, there is no God but He. He understood for the very appearance of all trees and plants that their different species were proclaiming unanimously, there is no God but He. We should see that next time we go to a park, inshallah. For he perceived three great and general truths, indicating and proving that all fruit-giving trees and plants, with the tongue of their symmetrical and eloquent leaves, the phrases of their charming and loquacious flowers. What is loquacious flowers?
Yes.
The words of their well-ordered and well-spoken fruits were testifying to God's glory and bearing witness that there is no God but He.
Thank you. Şöyle. Tending to talk a great deal. Talkative? Oh, okay.
So the flowers are talking, communicating
Exactly.
the phrases of their charming and loquacious flowers, the words of their well-ordered and well-spoken fruits, were testifying to God's glory. So they're testifying to God's glory and bearing witness that there is no God but He.
It's,
Beautiful.
yeah.
You have any comment?
No. No, you don't want to hear my comment.
Okay, we'll talk inshallah. The first, in the same way that in each of the plants and trees, a deliberate bounty and generosity is to be seen in most obvious fashion, and a purposive liberality and munificence, so too it is to be seen in the totality of the trees and plants with the brilliance of sunlight. So they're witnessing there is no God but He. The first, in the same way that in each of the plants and trees, a deliberate bounty and generosity is to be seen in most obvious fashion, and a purposive liberality, like freedom, purpose, and with purpose and munificence. So too it is to be seen in the totality of the trees and plants with the brilliance of sunlight. So all these qualities of generosity, liberality, munificence are to be seen in the trees and plants, and as clear as one sees the sunlight. Well, this is a great level of reading qualities in creation. The second, the wise and purposive distinction and differentiation, one that cannot in any way be attributed to chance. The deliberate and merciful adornment and giving of form. The deliberate and merciful adornment and giving of form. All this is to be seen as clearly as daylight in the infinite varieties and species. They show themselves to be the works and embroideries of an all-wise maker. So there's wisdom, the wise and purposive distinction and differentiation. Everything is differentiated. This distinction, one that cannot in any way be attributed to chance. The deliberate and merciful adornment and giving of form. All this is to be seen as clearly as daylight in the infinite varieties and species. They show themselves to be the works and embroideries. So the trees and the plants, they show themselves to be the works and embroideries of an all-wise maker. The third, the opening and unfolding of all the separate members of the 100,000 species of that infinite realm, each in its own distinct fashion and shape, in the utmost order, equilibrium, and beauty, from well-defined, limited, simple, and solid seeds and grains, identical to each other, or nearly so. The opening and unfolding of all the separate members of the 100,000 species of that infinite realm. So the seeds, each in its own distinct fashion and shape, in the utmost order, equilibrium, and beauty, from well-defined, limited, simple, and solid seeds and grains, identical to each other, or nearly so. So the seeds and solid grains look pretty much identical, but infinite varieties are coming from those seeds. They're emerging from those seeds in distinct and separate form, with utter equilibrium, vitality, and wise purpose, without the least error or mistake. Without the least error or mistake. is a truth more brilliant than the sun. The witnesses proving this truth are as numerous as the flowers, fruits, and leaves that emerge in the spring. So the traveler said, "Praise be to God for the blessing of belief." In expression of these truths and the testimony given to them, we said in the 6th degree of the first station, "There is no God but God, to the necessity of whose existence in unity points the consensus to the necessity of his existence in unity points the consensus of all the species of trees and plants. The consensus of all the species of trees and plants that are engaged in glorifying God, and speak with the eloquent and well-ordered words of their leaves, their loquacious
Talkative.
and comely flowers, their well-ordered and well-spoken fruits, by the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of bestowal, bounty and generosity, done in purposive mercy, and the truth of differentiation, adornment, and decoration, done with will and wisdom. Definite too is the indication given by the truth of the opening of all their symmetrical, adorned, distinct, variegated, and infinite forms. From seeds and grains that resemble and approximate each other, that are finite and limited. Let's take a pause here. If anybody has any comment or anything. All right.
Okay.
So maybe let's read another paragraph. As this traveler through the cosmos proceeded on his meditative journey with increased eagerness and a bouquet of gnosis and faith. Now it's growing and growing. His gnosis, his knowledge and faith. Itself like a spring, gathered from the garden of the spring. They're opened before his truth-perceiving intellect. Truth-perceiving intellect. His cognitive reason. And that's how a human being should work. The gate to the animal and bird realm. Now it goes to the gate to the animal and bird realm. As his traveler through the cosmos proceeded on his meditative journey with increased eagerness and a bouquet of gnosis and faith, itself like a spring, gathered from the garden of the spring, there opened before this his truth-perceiving intellect, his cognitive reason, the gate to the animal and bird realm. With hundreds of thousands of different voices and various tongues, he was invited to enter. Entering, he saw that all the animals and birds, in their different species, groups, and nations, were proclaiming silently and aloud, "There is no God but He," and had thus turned the face of the earth into a vast place of invocation. And has thus turned the face of the earth into a vast place of invocation, an expansive assembly for the proclamation of God's glory. He saw each of them to be like an ode dedicated to God, a word proclaiming His glory. a letter indicating his mercy, each of them describing the Maker and offering him thanks and encomium. Can you look that up, please? Encomium. Maybe it's like thanks and.
Done.
A speech or piece of writing that praises someone or something highly. Good to know. Encomium. So they're chanting their speech is a glorification, a letter indicating his mercy, each of them describing the Maker and offering him thanks and encomium. It was as if the senses, powers, members, and instruments of those animals and birds were orderly and balanced words, or perfect and disciplined expressions. He observed three great and comprehensive truths indicating in decisive form their offering of thanks to the Creator and Provider and their testimony to His unity. The first, that being brought into existence with wisdom and purpose, they're being brought into existence with wisdom and purpose, and their creation full of art in a fashion that in no way can be attributed to chance, to blind force, or inanimate nature. They're being created and composed in purposive and knowledgeable manner, their animation and being given life in a way that displays in 20 aspects the manifestation of knowledge, wisdom, and will. All of this is a truth that bears witness to the necessary existence of the eternally living and self-subsistent, His 7 attributes, and unity, a witness repeated to the number of all animate beings. So, do you think we should finish this or we can stop here for now?
Sure, it's a lot to reflect on. Let's not enter the animal kingdom yet.
Okay.
Let me
Okay.
stick with the mountain.
Yeah, so I think next week we can continue with this kingdom of the birds and animals, inshallah, and we'll start from the first. Yep, so I think we're at time right now, inshallah, so I think it's a good moment to reflect on how we're living and how we can use our human feelings and senses to live like a real human being, inshallah.
And how can we look at a building with a different lens next time?
Yep.
Without saying, oh yeah, it's man-made. I saw a bunch of construction guys were there constructing it. But like, how is it actually standing big and tall? So, yep.
Okay, inshallah, if there's any other comment, please indicate that. If not, inshallah, we will conclude for today. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma